Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast. It is Black Monday across the NFL, perhaps Judgment Day in Chicago at Halas Hall. We got a huge show for you. We have no idea how long the show is going to go, but we got a lot of content for you. We got reaction from Halas Hall. Nicholas Moreano's there with DJ Moore, who talked. Montez Sweat. Marcedes Lewis had some awesome things to say today. There's so much to get to. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman, Greg Reggs Jr. with you today. And it's the start of incredibly exciting and important offseason for the Chicago Bears. We are going to be your one-stop shop every single day throughout this 5 days a week. We're going to have a show for you like we always do. The season ended yesterday. It does not end for us.
Nope.
We got you covered from now really until, next season starts, but especially to the NFL draft, free agency, combine, Super Bowl,
Senior Bowl,
draft, Senior Bowl. We're going to have it all for you. So make sure you are here with us. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. If you're hitting on this link for the first time ever, please hit that subscribe button right now, because I promise you this is where you're going to want to be every day as we have these major discussions about the Chicago Bears. Again, Adam Hoge, Mark Carman, Greg Reggs Jr. with you. These guys decided to wear black like it's some type of funeral. I'm rocking the orange today. I feel like this is the start of the future of the Bears. It is very bright. I don't know why you guys are so dark right now.
Well, that's Texas burnt orange. It's not exactly Bears orange there, but we'll let it slide.
It's just a Nike sweatshirt.
It's Black Monday. We're dressing for the occasion.
I mean, speak for yourself. I wore this sweatshirt because when I went into
slept in it.
Because when I went in my laundry room, I was looking for 3 weeks. I'm like, oh, there it is, where I hung it 3 weeks ago to dry.
What doesn't stink?
Yeah, and that's right. It's clean. I'm ready to go. And look, let's just talk about history for 1 second of the CHGO Bears podcast, and really in how it pertains to myself, which was last year I started at the beginning of the season, and then we got to this point of the year. The season's over, 3-14. What's Poles going to do with the first overall pick? How the hell are we going to get, at least in my mind at that point, from January all the way to August? It felt like an extremely daunting task. And then the offseason, I mean, I love the season, but last year during the offseason we had it didn't feel like it ever slowed down. And I feel like this year is going to be even greater than last year. And I feel like on edge today. I think everybody does. When's the news coming down? How's this going to turn out? Who are they? We were just talking 5 seconds ago. When are we going to find out about Luke Getsy? Do we find out about it at the same time with Matt Eberflus? Because it does feel odd. Like, hey, we're letting go of the offensive coordinator, and Flus is a part of that decision. But then tomorrow we're going to find out that Flus is out the door. I don't think anybody really thinks that he's going anywhere, but it still does feel like at least some level of possibility.
Yeah, and just so people understand what's happening right now at Halas Hall, starting early this morning, Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles started their exit interviews with the entire roster, and it takes a long time, and it's going to go through at least 4 o'clock today is the expectation. Maybe after those meetings are over, they'll start to have staff meetings. They'll start to... we don't really know. I don't know if Matt Eberflus is sitting down tonight with Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles. Maybe that's, being pushed till tomorrow. But eventually that conversation is going to happen. And I think that you have to solidify Matt Eberflus' status before you even start talking about, okay, what are we doing with the offensive coordinator? It would be very odd to, for example, announce that you're firing Luke Getsy today and then tomorrow announce that you're firing the head coach. Like, that's just not the order that things go. Now, that being said, the Bears do a lot of things out of order. So, I guess you can expect anything. Let's start with what we know right now, though. And so it's a little piece on the timeline. Meanwhile, across the NFL, bunch of coaching changes. A lot that we expected Has been a ton of surprises along the way, but here's what it looks like right now. Coaches that have been fired so far, going back to Josh McDaniels being let go midseason by the Raiders, Frank Reich being let go by the Panthers, then Brandon Staley being let go by the Chargers. We now have 2 names added to that list since last night. Arthur Smith was let go basically on my drive home. It happened last night. They made that move pretty quick.
12:02 a.m. See you later. We're not waiting. We gave you 2 minutes until we could fire you. See you, Arthur. Thanks so much.
It's better than when Bill Cartwright got fired on Christmas Day.
Right.
So did
Scott Skiles got.
Scott Skiles.
Scott
Yeah.
Skiles. It's a Bulls tradition.
The Bulls love Christmas time.
Yeah. And then Ron Rivera, which we've known that one's coming for a while. Commander's making some moves here, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. So those are the 5 head coach openings we know of. Could be more. What's happening with Bill Belichick? There's been whispers about Mike Vrabel. Could Mike Vrabel take the Patriots job if the Patriots decide to move on from Bill Belichick? A lot of moving pieces, and I think elsewhere across the country, if other shows like this are having conversations, they're probably saying what's going on in Chicago, too. Are they going to come out and make a surprise move with their head coach? So there still could be more added to that list, but right now, those are the 5 openings that we know about. As it has to do with general manager openings, which is maybe a little bit more pertinent to the Bears right now, to be honest, and we'll explain here in a second. But we know of 4 general manager openings that are existing right now in the NFL. It starts with the Raiders, Chargers, Panthers, the Commanders. So the Raiders one right now, our old friend Champ Kelly is the interim general manager. He could be kept, but technically that's still an opening right now. The Chargers fired Tom Telesco a couple weeks ago. The Panthers fired Scott Fitterer this morning. He was the one, of course, who made the trade with Ryan Poles for that number 1 pick. So he's out. The head coach is out. Panthers basically starting over, pulling a big Bears move by drafting their quarterback and then cleaning house a few months later. Then the Commanders, that job we kind of knew was going to be open because Ron Rivera as the head coach, roster control. Now, here's where it's pertinent to the Chicago Bears. And this is going to be a big development, I think, in the next couple weeks. But Ian Cunningham, the assistant general manager, is going to get interviewed again. And already the Commanders are showing interest. They have put in a request to interview Ian Cunningham, according to Ian Rappaport. This will not be the last request he gets. Remember, he turned down the Cardinals job, waiting for the right opportunity. And we can talk about this opportunity in a second, but as the Bears look at this big decision in front of them, especially when it pertains to the quarterback, the circle of trust, you'd like to think everybody in your building you can trust. That's not how it realistically works when you talk about big decisions like this.
I don't tell Braggs anything.
That gets narrowed down to just a couple, 2, 3, 4. We don't really know what it is. What I do know is Ian Cunningham is 100% in Ryan Poles' circle of trust. And if he all of a sudden leaves, and I'm sure Ryan Poles has a plan for this. Ryan Poles said last year after Ian Cunningham decided to come back that he basically expected him to be gone. So this is not a shock to anybody if Ian Cunningham moves on. But it does adjust the calculus and the evaluation process a little bit with him being gone. And, oh, by the way, if he were to leave for the Commanders, just for example, they have the number 2 pick.
So and they are looking at a head coach, right?
Yep.
So that kind of crosses paths there.
Right. That's exactly. Thank you for underlining. I completely. That's my look at it. What's interesting is the Bears and the Commanders are very much in the same place of things that they are looking at and could be looking at as far as the coaching spot goes. But look, so Ian knows how Ryan's been thinking about this probably better than anybody else knows how Ryan's been thinking about this. So could that work out that if he takes the job and they have some fun around with it? I mean, they'll be competing at that point, but it also could work out in some way.
Conference too.
Yeah, you know, so
that makes it even trickier.
It also makes you wonder how this has affected discussions that have already happened over the last few months.
Ian's
even like if they're on the road together scouting Caleb Williams.
Right. Ian's like, Ryan, that Caleb guy, got a lot of questions about him.
Well, but then that is interesting. Like,
well, let's say hypothetically the Bears have already been like and I don't think this is the case, but maybe let's say inside that room they're like already leaning heavy towards Caleb Williams, and then Ian Cunningham goes and takes the commander's job, and he already has that information. Like that's I don't think that's how it's been. But also, like, you work with somebody every day.
Right.
You probably have a feeling. He at least knows what Ryan Poles thinks of these quarterbacks.
There's no way that that it's not like that. He's got to know exactly, as close to exactly what he thinks, unless Poles and Cunningham are that strategic. And
maybe they've already worked out a trade together.
I mean, the only people around here that are that strategic are you. So you'd have to. I don't think like that. I live more in the moment. And you're maybe you actually. You're always got an angle going on over there.
No, I'm a complete idiot.
No, I disagree. You've got nobody's built a network the way you've built a network except for Hoge. I'm literally the only one that doesn't understand these things. So congratulations to both of you. I'm going to hold it that it clearly would be competition and it'd be a little bit uncomfortable, but. Maybe perhaps somehow it could, in theory, just at least in this draft, benefit the Bears.
Then wouldn't it just be nice of him to go to the Chargers, you know?
I mean, we've got the number 1. They've got the number 2. We're still in control if it goes that way.
Well, let's look at it from Ian Cunningham's perspective, he's obviously known for a while now. He's capable of getting a GM job. It's bold whenever you turn down that opportunity when they're offering you a job. Mm-hmm. But he turns down that Cardinals job where – you know, they were resetting with a new head coach last offseason. Similar situation this year because no matter, you know, all 4 of these jobs right now also come with head coaching opportunity or openings, I should say. I look at it kind of simply. If Magic Johnson is offering me a job, I'm probably going to take that job.
Well, okay, let's. You've got Irvin, right? You also have a tremendous historic NFL franchise. You have an owner in Josh Harris who replaced the worst owner in the history of Washington, one of the top 5 in the history of the league, in Dan Snyder. There's just a lot to like about that job. So, I mean, the roster ain't perfect, but any job that you get is not going to be perfect. And you're sitting there with the number 2 overall pick. So I would think that he would be looking at this in a way different way than he looked at the Cardinals job.
So in terms of what the impact would be here, I think it's a significant loss, but it's at least one that the Bears have been preparing for a while. I think it's way more interesting and fascinating where he ends up because, again, if he goes to Washington, the parallels between these two guys, these two friends, having the number 1 and number 2 pick, just sort of makes this whole conversation we've already been having for months way more interesting and way more fun, quite frankly.
And terrifying.
Well, it's always going to be terrifying to you. I think it's fun.
It's both.
If we could go back through terrifying, if we rewound about, I don't know, call it 15 months, someone on the show was actively trying to talk negative about the Bears offensive coordinator to stop the Bears offensive coordinator from getting a head coaching job. And now, you know, rewind, say, 3.5 months ago, he was the first guy to fire the entire staff.
I'm covering all my bases, you know? I mean,
so
gets hot, don't get too hot, get cold, you're
all
done.
Right. Now, Nicholas Moreano's been at Halas Hall this morning, got a bunch of sound from the locker room. I want to play some of that right now for you because a lot of it is important. And then we're going to hear from Nick also here in a little bit. Let's start with one of the most important players on the entire roster, though, DJ Moore, who had some interesting comments last night in Green Bay about Luke Getsy. Not exactly a ringing endorsement, the way that he endorsed his quarterback. Now, DJ Moore, at the point, just for context, he talked to reporters in the locker room today. He had already had his exit interview with Flus and Flus and Poles. In fact, he had just come from that before talking to reporters. And eventually the conversation shifted to Justin Fields, and with Adam Johns asked DJ Moore just a question about his quarterback, and DJ Moore has already been very vocal about wanting Fields back.
Without giving away details, how much did Justin come up in the meeting?
And what meeting? We had several meetings. I mean, it was bored up. I mean, I bored him up, you know. of course. And, I mean, he's the quarterback for the Chicago Bears until otherwise. And I don't think that's changing anytime soon. So, we'll see.
How would you like that to work out?
Like what, for Justin to be here? I mean, it'll work. It'll be amazing. You know, nobody wants to really start all the way over and either have a losing season again or maybe have what's the quarterback from the Bengals when he came out, Joe Burrow? We could have that kind of season. You never know. It's a hit or miss. So we're gonna have to wait and see.
TJ, what's the biggest difference? What's the biggest difference between being a Chicago Bear versus being with the Panthers?
More wins. And thanks to them, we got the number 1 overall pick. So they made it harder on us right now.
I enjoyed the ending there. Biggest difference between the Panthers and the Bears, more wins. Well, at least this year, that was the case.
And the other part of that clip, if you watch the video that Nick Moreano shared from the locker room, there's a little smirk on his face as he's saying this, which I think body language-wise kind of gives a more context to the quote.
So he straight up comes out and says, the exact quote is, and you just heard it there, DJ Moore on Justin Fields. He's the quarterback for the Chicago Bears until otherwise, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. Now, I would caution you from taking that as gold that DJ Moore has this feeling that Fields is coming back.
Bears Twitter already has.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. Because I sincerely doubt we can make the conclusion here that DJ Moore went into that meeting with Flus and Poles today and said, I want Fields to come back. Okay? He's pretty much said that out loud. I highly doubt the response right away from Ryan Poles was, okay. Decision over. So now maybe he left that meeting with the feeling that they listened to him and they took everything he had to say very seriously, but he even gave himself an exit point there because he brought up, or you could have Joe Burrow, number 1 pick, who hot start right away. Pretty much right away, we knew what he was.
Well, and he also said he's the quarterback until otherwise.
Yeah.
So he underlined a rookie who came in and boosted his team and lifted him deep into the playoffs immediately. So, look.
He also had to ask who the quarterback was in Cincinnati.
Yeah, listen. DJ Moore, anybody in that locker room, their job is to perform at a high level, and they're going to have to get on board with whatever the organization does. My read of what DJ's been doing and saying, and he stepped out for his guy, and he was pretty excited when he was asked about his exit interviews, that he was going to go in there and speak his mind. And as a veteran, as one of, if not the top guy on the team, he was going to willingly give his opinion, which he should. Now, here's the just slight turn on the whole thing. Just a reminder, and it's not on him. DJ Moore is obviously not the problem on the Bears, but the most games that DJ Moore has ever won in a season is 7 games. That was this year. He won 7 games once with the Panthers too. He's had a ton of 5-win seasons. He's never made a Pro Bowl. So we're not talking about. I just think don't get it wrong. Great player, happy he's here. Had a phenomenal year. Should have been a Pro Bowler. So I'm not going to just put it all on awards. But this is not like listening to him. We're not listening to somebody who's got 5 championship rings. I just think it's a little bit worth just noting when you look at his resume.
Yeah, but it certainly is profound. I mean, to me, maybe profound's too strong a word, but since the Cleveland game, every week after games, every Monday on 670, he's continuing to apply the pressure to his own GM, the guy that traded for him to come here, the guy that hands him his game checks every week. And other players are also applying the pressure. As we mentioned before, they're not so shy to say Luke Getsy ain't cutting the job, but they're standing out for their quarterback, and I get players are going to stand up for the other players in the locker room. But, Ryan Poles is in that locker room too. He's not a player, but he's a part of this. They're all trying to win a Super Bowl. So I do find it interesting that one of the main leaders on this team is applying that kind of pressure on the GM when we all know that this decision is a big one. He's not making it any easier on Ryan. And he doesn't want to. I mean, he's clearly made that decision. He doesn't want to make that decision easy on Ryan Poles, so he's going to make it harder.
Yeah, but what kind of real pressure do you think that is?
I think there's a percentage. It's not like the end-all, be-all. At the end of the day, Ryan's going to have to do what he has to do. But there's a percentage. 100%.
One thing
about culture.
Yeah, one thing I think we can say about this culture, and something that Poles, and I think Flus is behind it a lot because we've heard a lot of his defensive players say this, is, they've created an open forum for their players to speak their minds,
which is great
behind the scenes, and take in feedback. That's a lot of what these exit meetings are, and we've seen bits and pieces of that creep out into the media too, as these guys do more and more interviews. So I don't know what that necessarily means. I just think it's interesting. And I think that that's what DJ Moore's doing here. And, I think it's important to keep in mind, though, that as much as DJ Moore is hyping up Justin Fields, he's not going to be a malcontent if they move on.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
And I don't think anyone else in that locker room is either.
No, but in the moment, maybe there'll be some frustrations. Mini camp, training camp comes around. Everybody's going to try to come together as a team. But when the season starts, and if this is the decision they make, it's a results-driven business for fans, coaches, media, players. And when they're on the field, and if they're not playing well in a season where they're going to have expectations, I don't care who the quarterback is, and if Justin Fields is on another team playing well, that's where I'm not saying like he's a malcontent. I'm saying the locker room will become malcontent to what is happening to them because they then have to go to the media after games that they lose, and they'll be asking, well, why are you guys struggling? And some of these players will be like, well, you know what? I didn't want to get rid of the quarterback last year. That's a down the road issue, but it's a results driven business to me, and that's where the rubber will meet the road.
Let's get to this super chat from the Duke. $50 jumping in here today on Black Monday. He says, to clarify the drunk super last night, I have friends, but they're mostly Packer fans, so they don't count. Twice a year. Anywho, it's 12:15 and Getsy is still our offensive coordinator. I will end all supers with this to emphasize the stupidity of our organization.
He says it's 12:15.
Duke, when you said last night that you have no friends, no one believed you. You're the most. There's nobody on the planet that has more friends than you. You're the Dukes.
He could buy his friends.
He could, but he wouldn't because everybody wants to be friends with the Duke, and it's rude that you would say that to the Duke. And Duke, I apologize for bragging.
Duke, you could buy me.
Yeah,
Duke, you don't have to buy me. I'm in, and I know we're all getting impatient on the Luke Getsy situation. But let's also...
There's got to be an order to this.
Yeah.
And they're going to be methodical about it because that's what Kevin Warren says he is.
Well...
And nobody has committed to anything. And they had 16 opportunities to do so. As much as they sort of backed themselves into a corner that, yep, this is good, this is good, we really liked how we responded to adversity, blah, 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 blah. That no one's ever said, and that's why he's coming back.
Right.
Well, here, let's just talk about yesterday for 1 second. Which was a bigger problem? The offensive coordinator, who I'm not going to say he came close to calling a great game, because he didn't. Was that the biggest problem? Or was the biggest problem yesterday actually up front? And if you go back to the up front situation, what happens if Nate Davis gets hurt? How are we playing that? The answer should not have been we're going to throw Cody Whitehair at right guard, a position he's never played before in his life.
That's not true. He last played right guard in 2017.
Okay, fine. I'll take it back. I forgot about that 2017 Whitehair. But okay.
It was covered on the postgame show last night.
Has it played it in I'm sure it was. 6 years. Okay, 6 years.
Your point is still completely valid.
You have a guy that played right guard, I don't know, this year, last year. His name is Tevin Jenkins.
Well, to your point, they had this exact situation play out for 4 straight weeks earlier this year where they were both playing the guard positions. and Cody Whitehair was at left guard, and Tevin Jenkins was at right guard.
So
I don't get it.
Right. And that is not on Luke. That would be on the head coach. And by the way,
That's a lot on Luke. And a lot on the offensive line coach.
Okay, you're the head coach. You gotta lay down the law there.
Matthew,
Well, it's on him to not correct it, perhaps.
Matthew Gregory saying, Carm sharing fake news in an election year. Shake my head.
Matt Gregory has been coming at me for like 2 months.
We love Matt.
We love him so.
You know what?
We love him so.
I forgot to put in the rundown, but I have a rant on Mark Carman.
Oh, great.
Good.
I'm gonna add
Good. But to your point, though,
good
of,
for the show.
Like,
Can't wait.
They're gonna be methodical with this approach, and they're gonna take their time. I get it. That's Kevin Warren's process, and they've been pretty open about that. And if Harbaugh is, as we mentioned, if Harbaugh is an option, he plays tonight in or coaches tonight in a national championship. But at the same time, you can't wait too long. These other teams are already attacking. Other teams are already, asking for interviews of OCs out there. And as you mentioned before, the Ian Cunningham, layer of this, you can't. There's got to be a balance for, being methodical in your approach, but also understanding you don't have too much time. You got to be a little decisive. This is the moment, and you should have been preparing for this for months, like I assume.
Well,
you
got at least till 10 o'clock tonight because Jim Harbaugh's got a football game tonight.
But any coach, not just Jim, but yeah, Jim.
But Jim.
But Jim.
But mostly Jim.
But mostly Jim.
I am of the firm belief.
And also Jim.
The Bears know exactly when. I don't know about exactly to the minute.
Jimothy.
I think okay, you two go over there. I'm going to do the show alone. Thank you. I'm the only one that's focused on this program today, apparently. Look, they know when the news is good. They know when they're going to put their news out, man. They've got. I guarantee you, they know when they're going to announce or not announce. They're not sitting there right now. I wonder if we're going to keep Luke Getsy or not. They're not doing that. They're going. They are going through their meetings, and then at some point, they know exactly when they're going to talk with Luke, if they're going to talk with Luke, what they're going to say to Luke, and when they're going to put it out. This is the Kevin Warren led Bears, man. This is not some fly by night. Well, you know what? I just decided at 2 a.m. that we're going to do it, and let's announce it at 6:38 because that's just when I feel like it. They have a plan on how this is going to go, and I'm sure they're well aware of the urgency of all the wheels that are spinning. So let's just chill.
All right. By the way, I should have mentioned we have Steven producing for us today. He's kicking ass, and we got more audio I want to get to. Marcedes Lewis spoke. I don't know what happened this season, but I feel like we didn't hear from Marcedes Lewis enough. He's an 18-year veteran who's amazing leadership, played pretty damn well for the Bears this year too.
I want to hire him to just be my life coach, something. This guy.
I'm just telling you, we're going to play this for you. When he talks, it's like, oh, I need to listen to this. Yes. So it's the exact opposite of the show, is essentially. Marcedes Lewis.
Everything I disagree. Everything I say is straight brilliance, and everyone knows it.
Just listen to what Marcedes Lewis had to say in the locker room today at Halas Hall.
In the building. That's important, and being able to stack that. And I just felt like, there were plenty of reasons to maybe throw the season, and we just had more reasons not to. And it's about turning this thing around. I understood when I came here there was going to be, take some time. And I think that was one of the things that fired me up about being here, is being a part of something that could potentially be great. And I feel like the arrow's pointing up. It was an honor to be able to be here and serve and play good ball, put good stuff on film, and yeah.
Marcedes, you saw this offense operate at the highest level. How would your take be on Justin's fit in this offense, and then how close do you think it is to actually taking off?
I mean, you guys see what I see. An amazing athlete. I feel like he's continuing to develop, and to be honest, no matter if you're in your third year or your 18th year, development is a process, right? And if you're somebody that understands that the room for growth is always spacious, then you're going to continue to grow. And I feel like he's at that spot. I feel like he's done a really good job of getting better every day. He's a guy that, wants to win and wants to be great. So I tip my hat to him for just going out there and doing his best, with what he's given. And that's all you can do is be your personal best. You live with the results, have no regrets. The other things that you're asking is, that's not my job to kind of answer those type of questions, but just as a player and as a person, he wants to be right. And when you have that, you give yourself a chance.
So you think the organization should continue to develop him, continue to have that patience with Justin Fields based on what you've seen from Justin Fields?
I think, that's going to be up to the organization in general, but I feel like Justin is a guy that wants to be great. He loves being here. His teammates love him. So, that's all I can really give you as far as that's concerned. But like I said, he did some things this year that kind of wowed me. So definitely a guy that's getting better for sure.
What's the process going to be like for you in the next couple of months as you try to think about what's next for you and continue playing? You haven't. You think
I'm rolling.
Yeah,
I'm rolling. For me, it's just about. It's always been mentally for me, right? And my mental fortitude is something that I lean on, and I can hang my hat on. And the stuff that I put on film this year is stuff that I can be proud of. It's crazy because I'll be 40 in May, but when you watch the film, it don't look like it. So I just want to continue to get better this off season. Like I've had the same routine for about 15, 16 years, minus a couple things. Sometimes I add some things to my routine, but I'll be ready to go when my number is called.
What a badass.
The same routine for 15 years. Do you understand how hard it is to do that?
The same routine since last Wednesday.
Most of us on the show have never had a routine. This guy's doing, that is discipline, that is winning, that is a guy that does, you can see why they wanted him in the locker room. But he also said, by the way, that, the reason why I came here was Luke Getsy. He knew how to use me.
Luke Getsy's popular with the players. I really do feel that way. Now, a little bit of news in there we need to address right away. Marcedes Lewis coming back for a 19th season is significant. That's... he might not be with the Bears. He's going to be a free agent. He could sign elsewhere. I hope the Bears give him a strong look to come back, especially if it's still this offensive system. Dude's a badass, man. He's multiple times throughout his career kind of reshaped how he plays the tight end position, adapted to what teams need from him to keep his longevity going, takes care of his body, and when he speaks, he listens. So that's news right there that he's coming back.
I'm with Bo Canton. You want to make Marcedes Lewis the head coach, player coach? Let's go. I'm in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I thought Carman playing in the 60 and over tennis league was impressive, but 19 years in the NFL,
that's a big job. This dude is. And they gave him every ability to stay on the field. He didn't practice a ton this year.
And by the way, that's the guy who played with Aaron Rodgers. Now, yes, Marcedes Lewis is never going to throw a teammate under the bus. But he had some nice things to say about Justin in there, too.
Yep.
Teammates love him.
Of course.
He said that. But that's all stuff we know. And it doesn't necessarily mean you don't just necessarily bring a guy back just because his teammates love him.
Well, let me say one thing about Justin and the love and all that. And there was a lot made about that he yesterday said his goodbye to Bears fans, sort of. But if you listen to his whole press conference, he said everything. He said his goodbye. He said he hopes he's here. Justin doesn't know what's going to happen. I think Justin is still hoping that he'll be here, and who knows, again, how this is all going to play out. The only thing that we do know with the quarterback situation is that it's going to take a while, that we're going to be talking about it for a good month, 2 months, 3 months. That's what we know.
Yes. 100%.
So I don't think Fields' press conference yesterday was some goodbye that he knows he's out the door.
The other thing I know is at some point I'm going to be on DraftKings trying to figure out what I'm doing tonight.
Well, that's a great thing, Adam, because DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs and is bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game, and you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. That is up from the past. So now is a great time to get in there and make yourself a DraftKings Sportsbook better. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code CHGO. New customers, $5, and you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. That's only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code CHGO. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available. For problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
What time is it?
Game time.
Woo! Woo!
There you
like
go.
That. The wow brags.
Yeah.
Wow brags.
Well, that's a big Dave Matt Peck special
I was
from
gonna say, you got that from
CHGO
somewhere.
Bulls. Well, they got it from the Chicago Bulls of 90s fame. I don't know if you're aware of their 6 NBA championships. It was a lot of fun.
Never heard of it.
But yeah, make sure you're using the Game Time app when you're finding your tickets. Use the code CHGO for $20 off. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Like I said before, you have a chance. Last-minute deals always get you the best price. When you're looking for your ticket, it's nice to have a map that shows you exactly where you can get your seat. Taking my daughter here at the end of January to Disney on Ice at the United Center.
That's awesome.
And I was able to look exactly where we're going to sit so she can get the best view.
Some Frozen? Little Elsa?
It's Elsa all day at the Bragg's residence.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. So
I bet it is.
Yep. So you can see the view from your seat before you even buy. So now we know we got the exact, perfect spot for Addison to live all her dreams. So you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices, show your total up front so you know you're getting a great deal without the hidden fees. Some of these other secondary market ticket that they trick you. They bait and switch you. You think you're getting a good deal, and then after about 5 windows later, you realize your service charges is double what the ticket price is. Not at Game Time. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. You know the price right away. Game Time has tickets on deals right up to the start of the event. And even an hour after it starts, that's where you can really find some good deals, especially around baseball season. That's a fun game to play. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsor deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concert, comedy, theater, and more. With zone deals, you pick the section, and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Bang, bang. My
There
friends
you
at
go.
Game Time.
Let's knock out the super chat from Chris. We'll head out to Halas Hall, talk to Nick here in a second. Got a lot more coming up, too, on the head coaching situation, the offense coordinator situation, and Justin Fields' conversation. I have some numbers I think are very pertinent to this 7-game run that everybody's very excited about. Maybe it was a 6-game run. We'll get to that here in a little bit as well. Chris D'Onofrio, $19.99 in the super chat. He says, draft Caleb number 1. Washington drafts May. Patriots don't like the quarterbacks left and are willing to take Fields and our 2025 second-rounder from the Panthers for the number 3 pick. So we move up and draft Marvin Harrison Jr., and we get to keep the number 9 this year. Any chance?
No.
No chance that that's the trade compensation for Fields, I would say.
That would be a 0.000. But I love the thought.
I do.
You come out of
I
this
am not ruling out the idea of a first rounder. I think we see time and time again every year, teams get desperate for a quarterback. Identify the sucker. Last year, Ryan Poles identified the sucker. Sucker got fired this morning.
It's like in Waterboy where they're looking to see who they're going to do the onside kick to.
Yeah.
They're going down the line, and then they see the guy panicking. I won't say what he said.
So I think that applies either whether it's the number one pick or Justin Fields.
Right.
All this talk about Fields, we know he's talented, and he's talented enough. There's going to be a sucker.
Well, and I think the key is the amount of teams that are looking for a quarterback and the amount of quarterbacks that are available. Russell Wilson's going to be available. Is Kirk Cousins? Maybe. But the amount of teams that are looking for a quarterback, which to me, if you go down that list, probably is around 8 or 9. Maybe we can get into that later in the week. There's not enough quarterbacks that are going to be available to fill all those needs. So you just start pinning those teams against each other.
Nicholas Moreano was at Halas Hall, was in the Bears locker room.
What?
There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's brilliant. I love how you're laying it out for Poles exactly what to do.
I did last year, did I not? With the Panthers pick. Did I not, Mr. I told you so?
Listen, because everything I say becomes just so spot on. Listen, I think Poles should call you.
Leave me alone. Go to Nick.
Nick is at Halas Hall. Nick is, look, are these new glasses? What's happening here?
Our new glasses. I literally just got these on Friday. So, when you're up all night driving back from Green Bay, you need to rest the eyes and put on the glasses every once in a while.
Do you even wear contacts, or is this just a fashion statement?
Oh.
No, I wear contacts.
Okay,
I'm
just
blind.
checking.
I'm blind.
Okay.
You're a man of fashion. I had to know.
Well, yeah, we didn't know Nick could look any more handsome, and then here he is on Black Monday wearing white and just chilling. Most important question I have for you, Nick, are you aware that in the last 10 games of this season, Adam Hoge went 9-1 with his Bears predictions?
I am not. That's really impressive. Wow.
We don't have to talk about how he started 2-5.
It was a miracle that he was able to tie me, but it's the way it is. I'm just sitting here at the top, and sometimes I'm joined by someone, and sometimes I'm not. So welcome. Congratulations.
Congrats, you guys.
I'll go in first question. Nick, what was the most interesting moment that you had listening to anybody talk today? You were like, wow, I didn't expect that.
That's a good question, Mark. I'm going to say the most interesting thing is hearing from every single person that I heard from today spoke about, in some aspect, the brotherhood or the family atmosphere that is in this locker room. It didn't matter who you were talking to. Montez Sweat brought that up. DJ Moore described that when he was talking about Darnell Mooney, what he's meant to him. Jack Sanborn said that every single one of these guys in this locker room, he's just been really appreciative to have, this group of core people in there. It didn't matter who, again, you were talking to. They really spoke about, this brotherhood element, and Marcedes Lewis included. And, he's been quite a few locker rooms, going to be turning 40 on May 19th. But this locker room is connected, and it through the difficulties of the beginning of the season, I think that made that connection overall stronger for a lot of these guys. So when you bring up a guy like Justin Fields, who is very well respected, loved by all of his teammates, that's something that I think Ryan Poles needs to consider as he's kind of weighing the options of what's going further. But to really answer your question, Mark, I think it's just every single player we spoke to had something to say about just the chemistry, the locker room atmosphere that really does exist here.
Sometimes I like to ask you, because I always felt it when I was in that locker room on a day-to-day basis, just what the vibe feels like. So I'm trying to listen to all the stuff you sent in to us earlier pre-show, and that just did not sound like a locker room that just lost to the Packers.
100%. I was saying the same thing. It sounded like the happiest. There's so much chatter.
I mean, I've been through. I've seen it all. I'm the Monday after the season, from all the players crying because Lovie Smith just got fired, to days seemingly like today where everybody seems pretty cool about everything that happened. Was the locker room busy today? Because that's another thing. I've seen locker room clean out day
nobody's there.
Nobody's there.
Yeah.
Were guys available? Were they happy? It seemed pretty jovial just from what you sent in.
Yeah, and I'll say here's a perfect example of how I guess upbeat the locker room was. Montez Sweat had a cart to put all of his belongings on there. And Khalid Kareem, a guy that we really don't even hear about, got on top of the cart, and Montez Sweat was pushing him throughout the locker room, going pretty fast. Like, if you got in the way of that, that would not have been, fun to be a part of. But just kind of going around joyfully and just kind of having fun with a guy that really, hasn't done much this season. So I really do think that, it's still an upbeat locker room. Obviously, they would have liked to play better against the Packers in Week 18 at Lambeau Field, but it did feel like it was upbeat, and they're looking forward to what is to come in 2024.
Would anybody?
Can I get a little meatball-y for a second?
Yeah,
Am I allowed to do that?
I think I was about to do it too.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I was about to say, does
You
anybody?
won 7 games. You just got smoked by your rival. I
Right.
don't like it.
Like, there's a little bit too celebratory. 7-10, you beat one good team all year. Like,
which goes back to something I'd like to talk about a lot, and that's just we gotta lower or higher the expectations here in this town.
Raise the standard.
And I hope that's the kind of stuff that behind those closed doors, with Kevin Warren in the room, that there's more of that. Honestly, I don't want to make too big of a deal of that. It's probably not a huge deal. It's a little concerning to me, if I'm being honest, that jovial after that kind of loss after you only won 7 games. I don't like that.
I was having the same thought.
Yeah, and guys, real quickly too, like DJ Moore was asked about, how this feels locker room clean out after that loss, and he said obviously the team got 7 wins, but why not go for 10 plus next year and finish out some of those games and be a better team? And I think this team lives in like the what ifs, the coulds. You could have beat Denver. What if we finished the first game against Detroit? What if you play better in the first matchup against Minnesota? And yes, they have these high expectations, but you just got to show it before you can. If you're not showing, you're just talking about it. And I get it. Like, this team, I think they did some good things down the road in terms of actually building up some wins here. But we saw last night how far this team really is from competing against the Packers. And this is a Packers team that had its struggles throughout the course of the season. But in the 2 matchups they played in 2023, it wasn't close either way. Even though yesterday's was just a 1-score game, it did not feel like that. So it is an interesting approach to how they're kind of, taking today. But yeah, I would say, again, it goes credit to the chemistry that is in the locker room. A lot of those guys feel like they're not just teammates, they are, family. And Montez Sweat said, like, he wished he had more time with the guys that are in here because he knows change is going to happen. And he said he wishes that, he just had more time to spend with some of his teammates.
That's kind of where I take it with some of the players. Like, I almost feel like they're trying to keep a positive attitude because they don't want change. They like where they're going, even though they've fallen short of their goals. The one tone that I think has been a little different for some of the players last night and today with some of your reporting is it doesn't feel like they're as hard-lined for Luke Getsy. I think there's some people that like him in that locker room and others that have been a little more vocal, last night standing out and saying things that they didn't agree with the game plan. Are you getting that vibe from the locker room?
Well, we put out the video of DJ Moore and just kind of the reaction he had when, he was talking about his exit interview. And he said, when it comes out, whatever happens, happens. And maybe it's what I said, they'll take that into account. But, it was interesting to hear him talk about that. What did DJ Moore tell Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles? We won't know until maybe something comes out, as he pointed to. And he kind of has the facial expression with it. But I think Luke Getsy is respected. The players do like him. When you talk to Marcedes Lewis, he talked about like how Luke Getsy is good at adapting, and when Marcedes Lewis's reps started going up throughout the season, it kind of meant that the Bears are playing the brand of football that they wanted to play: run the rock, play action, mirror things together, and that's because Getsy understands him as a player. So it's interesting how I think you do hear a little bit of both sides when it comes to Getsy, but he is the most, I think, most polarizing figure on this Bears team right now. Obviously, Fields is there as well, but he has all the support from the locker room. Getsy, I feel like there are bits and pieces that kind of leak out a little bit, especially as the season's come to a close.
So it's a good way of putting it that it leaks out a little bit. Like it leaked a little bit from DJ, but then he tried to leak it back the other way with saying that, they were struggling last night or yesterday with Green Bay and the offensive line situation, guys not being healthy, and that led to the offense not being able to be as productive as they wanted. Did you see anybody in there, Nick, that didn't look like they were having the time of their life packing up?
So Darnell Mooney was briefly, he didn't speak to reporters. He actually said that he was still going through the concussion protocol and that, if we were still in the locker room, after he got back, he would talk, but he didn't. But he kind of just seemed like he was in a rush, kind of getting some things into his box, going to, behind maybe to get the concussion protocol situation going. Then we never saw him again, and that's unfortunate because that could have been the last time Darnell Mooney was here in Halas Hall. But yeah, Mark, I mean, I wouldn't say that. Yeah. I wouldn't say that nobody wasn't having the time of their life here. I mean, they were kind of, they had their boxes, put all their cleats, their belongings in there. Guys kind of linger a little bit. Some head out, but yeah, like I said, I mean, the locker room clean-out day after losing to your, bitter rival up north, it seemed pretty okay in Halas Hall.
It just makes a lot of sense with Darnell. It's got to be a hard day for him. Been here, didn't have a good year, didn't end the way he wanted it to. Probably feels like he's not going to be back. These guys are his close friends. Yeah. All of it.
Nick, I don't know what time your exit interview with Flus and Poles is scheduled today, where you fit in on the order, but what would you tell them? What's your advice to them if they asked it?
Well, I mean, that's a good question, Adam. I think they just need to look at this, what they're trying to build here, and see, and ask them. I would just ask them, like, what do you think is truly right for this team moving forward? And that's going to be the big question that Poles needs to answer, because is it going to be Eberflus and bringing him back, or do you just want to have a fresh start at things? So it's a tough question, but one that ultimately they're going to have to think about. And maybe we'll have some more clarity on some of those pieces to the overarching puzzle here in later days. But I think for Poles, I just want to see what he truly thinks is best to put this organization finally in a window to actually compete. Look, they still can't beat the Green Bay Packers. Yes, you've won a couple games against the NFC North, but there's still a gap there. And they just need to figure out what's the best way to approach that finally. Also, I'm curious, what are our nicknames? I know Matt Eberflus has nicknames for all the players. What are the nicknames for some of the reporters? That kind of piqued my interest when you guys were at Halas Hall that one day.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's been bothering me for 2 weeks. I haven't slept. I'm like Braggs before the Panthers-Jaguars game. I haven't slept in a week.
Nick, can you do me a favor and find Kevin Warren and ask if he likes Jim Harbaugh? Like, if they get along? Everybody's been waiting for this answer. I'm just trying to find that out.
Hit the like button if you have appreciated Nick's coverage all season long. Give it up for our guy, Nicholas Moreano. He's been grinding it out there. Look at him.
Nick.
Backwards hat, no hat, different glasses, always the smile on his face, giving us the information. Like button for Nick, damn it.
Stunningly beautiful.
Best looking man in media, and there's no doubt.
His week 19 is not over yet. It's going to be a press conference at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Could be more news along the way. Nick, good hustle getting back from Green Bay, especially if you drove it last night. That's one of the worst drives in the world. You do not see if you drove it last night, you probably went 20 miles without seeing a car at some point.
Yeah.
And maybe saw 5 deer. The deer to car ratio gets very scary when you're driving home from Green Bay that late.
Yeah, I no, that's exactly what it was. There was a car that was like creepily following, and there's only it's me and this other car. I'm like, I already don't like this. Let's get out of here, distance myself from whoever you are. And then on my way home in Arlington Heights, there were some foxes that were just kind of crossing the road. I'm like, I didn't see as much deer, but I'm like, oh, there's a little fox at 1 a.m. But yeah, it's an interesting drive, and I just didn't want to be in Green Bay any longer than I was. So got out of there. And guys, the cheese curds. The cheese curds were bad in the press box for me.
They were bad.
Like, that's how I knew it was. Yeah, that's how I knew it wasn't going to be the Bears day. I'm like, what the hell? The cheese curds? Like,
what? They weren't gooey?
Yeah. No, not the ones I got. Those things felt like they had been out there for a little bit. I'm like, all right.
Dude, Lambeau's slipping. Their
Slippery field.
The field wasn't bad.
You're
the
on the
cheese
same page.
curds are
They
hot.
did this on purpose. I'm telling you.
They're losing.
They're
at
bad
Lambeau.
people up there.
I would be worried if I was a
Anyone
Packer
from
fan.
Wisconsin is a bad person.
My wife's from Wisconsin. Nick, good job. We'll talk to you. I have a feeling, I don't know, 3 hours from now. It'll be. Go get some sleep though. Rest up. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, you guys.
All right. Dom Big Bear with a $5 super chat here. Pick up Fields 5th. Draft a quarterback. Let Fields run it back. If he continues to struggle, have a rookie waiting. Rookie and Fields is the safest move.
So let's talk about that scenario for just 1 second. And I'd give it about a 1.65% chance. But you trade out of the 1, you acquire a huge haul, and in that haul is some mid-level first-round pick for this year. You use that pick on a guy like Michael Penix Jr. if you want to go that route, and you're hanging with Justin. Is that about the right percentage in your mind that something like that happens? 1.58%. Because it is interesting. Like, if they don't like Caleb, they meet with Caleb, they think that Caleb just doesn't fit their locker room, and yet they're not completely 1,000% sold on Justin, but they're going to let him roll. But they don't think that Tyson Bagent is the answer. That would be an insane thought. But they want a higher person than Bagent there. I'm giving it a very small percentage, but it's interesting to me to think about, is it possible they would do something like that, draft a quarterback later in a later round, or as early as late in the first round if they make some huge deal that way?
I think there's some scenario where that's on the table. I think there's still the nuclear option.
Trade them both?
Draft Caleb Williams and keep Justin.
Oh, that's the nuclear option.
That, to me, that's the nuclear option. It's like putting Kane and Taves on the field, on the ice, I should say, at the same time.
What if they did that? They're like, hey, look, we've watched the Green Bay Packers kick our ass for 3 decades, and what they've done is make quarterbacks sit. And
okay, speaking of that, that's a little teaser.
Yeah.
We're going to get to here in maybe 5-10 minutes, because I have the most underrated broadcast moment of last night's broadcast that has to do exactly with what you're talking about right now. Before we do that, though, a couple things we want to bring to your attention. I don't know if you know what the Bears head coaches and their records and situations have been like over the last, basically since Lovie Smith was fired. But we have a list of the Bears head coaches since they made that decision to fire Lovie Smith. And I just think it's important to put, on the screen for everybody to see if you're watching on YouTube. But yes, consistently inconsistent here. Mark Trestman, 13-19. The only Bears head coach to ever only get 2 years, which would be the situation with Matt Eberflus if they do move on. John Fox went 14-34. Matt Nagy, best record here, 34-31. People actually forget he was above 500. Matt Eberflus went to the playoffs twice too. Matt Eberflus, 10-24. That is what you have gotten. 4 head coaches since Lovie Smith was fired. You move on again, it would be number 5. There are many franchises stuck in the endless hiring and firing circle of suck. And a lot of people would argue that if you move on from Flus here, you would still be in that situation. Now, perhaps even more depressing, Bears offensive coordinators since 2013. I mean, there's some names on here you might have forgotten about.
Oh, boy.
Aaron Kromer. Remember him? Steven also put the offensive rank on here. Just living in the 20s.
I would not have been able to pull 18 and 19. No way I'm remembering that.
You wouldn't have remember Mark Helfrich?
No.
He's doing TV now. He's doing games on Fox. Aaron Kromer, Adam Gase, Dow Loggins had never called plays in the NFL. Mark Helfrich had never called plays in the NFL. Bill Lazor, he had called plays in the NFL. Luke Getsy had not called plays in the NFL. Which would be my number one requirement if you're bringing in a new OC. Have you called plays in the NFL before?
Of that list, for me, Luke Getsy, Gase had a phenomenal year here, so yes. But if I had to pick from that list right now to be, I had to choose one of those guys to be our offensive coordinator, I'd stick with Getsy. That's what I would do.
That's great. So, and for those listening to the podcast that couldn't see that graphic, all of those offense ranked in the 20s somewhere, except for Aaron Cromer, 14th, which was technically under Mark Trestman. The one thing Mark Trestman did somewhat decently is have a decent offense. But even then, it was 14th, middle of the pack.
Right.
And this goes beyond that. We could have made this graphic even longer because, quite frankly, the biggest downfall of Lovie Smith and why he got fired was because they never had the offenses either.
But don't forget, Bill Lazor was with Matt Nagy. And when Matt Nagy had to give up play calling to Bill Lazor, suddenly the Bears' season turned around and they played a little better and more efficiently on offense. And now Bill Lazor is in Houston.
Bill Lazor's preparing for the playoff game this weekend.
Bill Lazor's coaching C.J. Stroud, and they're doing pretty well down there.
Well, and maybe the Bears can hire their offensive coordinator to be their head coach if we're going to go all crazy and whatnot.
Bill Lazor's not the OC down there, by the way. He's, just to clarify for people listening,
he's QB's coach, or
no, I think he's like an offensive analyst or something.
He's the Phil Snow of the Texans.
Which means he's great.
Which means he is to Carm, he's every.
I mean, I just
Stroud is good.
Yeah, I just left. Yeah. I gave Lazor a promotion he didn't deserve. Probably my bad.
Okay.
You realize that the win. Do you know Flus's win percentage from that 10-24? Just to let it just to put a number on it. It's 294. Yeah. That'd be under 30%.
It's not good.
It's unfair to him. Tear down season, all of that, but 294, but by far the lowest.
Yep. Sometimes you gotta switch it up.
Can't lose that guy. There's no way we could somehow find someone better than the Flusy Flus.
We're always looking for better.
Are we?
Let's look at then a potential, with that in mind, the circle of suck in hiring and firing head coaches, offensive coordinators. Let's look at some candidates that could be available if you were to make the big move and fire Matt Eberflus. One of those guys is playing a football game tonight.
I love this graphic.
He's coaching a game tonight. Jim Harbaugh, Michigan head coach. Ben Johnson, Lions offensive coordinator. I don't know if you guys may or may not have heard of the guy third on this list. His name is Bill. I forget his last name.
Never heard of her.
Bill Belichick.
Better winning percentage than 294.
Bill Belichick, yes. We don't know if he's going to be available, but if you wanted to shoot for the moon, I mean, that would be, quite frankly, I don't know if I would say it'd be a better hire than Jim Harbaugh at this point, but it would be even more surprising, even bigger. If you pulled off a heist for Bill Belichick.
That would be the most insane day in the history of the city.
It would, yeah. So, pie in the sky. Otherwise, Eric Bieniemy, who I still thought that was an odd move, that he went to Washington where almost everybody knew Ron Rivera was a lame duck coach. I still to this day do not understand why they did not make Eric Bieniemy interim head coach in the middle of the year to see him get a chance. It makes no sense to me. And now he might be looking for another job. And then Bobby Slowick, not so slow on the rise here this year. The Texans offense coordinator working with C.J. Stroud could certainly be an option too. So my questions to you guys, are these candidates better than what you have with Matt Eberflus right now?
Yes. Jim Harbaugh is a proven head coach, excuse me, that has a better resume than Matt Eberflus. All due respect to the progress he has made. Bill Belichick, that's a joke. We know the answer to that question.
Let's try to figure out the reasons why you would keep the Flus, which I'm not opposed to, but the main reason is the culture of the locker room that he built and the fact that he turned the defense
the momentum
around.
They have on defense.
And I credit to you, Matt Eberflus. I find you to be a likable dude. I wish you said more to the media and were a little bit more interesting, but you don't. That's not your job, so congratulations, I guess, on not being that because you don't have to be. But I also look at it, if I'm Ryan Poles, I don't look at the two best things that he's done. culture in the locker room where guys want to win and improving the defense. I just wouldn't look at that in any way, shape, or form like there's no way I'm going to be able to replace that. It's just I would be hankering for a dynamicness that is missing.
I agree. And to me, I'm not gonna lie. My brain right now is stuck a little bit on how jovial that locker room was today.
Well,
you're 0-4 against the Green Bay Packers. You've lost 10 in a row. Is anyone else pissed about this? Is anyone else mad about this? I feel like I'm yelling at a wall right now. You're 50-15 against them since you're 15-50 against them. The Packers are 50-15 against you since 1992.
Yeah, and it's not the first time, for the record, that I've had this thought being in the locker room. Like, this place feels like last year was like the happiest locker room all time.
The way that locker room was today explains more why they played the way they did yesterday. It should hurt. It should hurt that you lost that game. You should be in a bad mood today. You should go into the offseason in a bad mood. No, it was not a playoff game, but I feel a little bit like everything we did talking up this game this past week and how much it meant, it did not mean that much to them. And by the way, some of that goes on the head coach because he's the one that from the very first press conference last Monday said, nope, this is any other game. We're not playing it up. And it is not the same game. It's a bigger game.
Somebody needs to superimpose Hoge on the Moneyball scene walking into the locker room.
Yes.
Yelling at and put all the different Bears players in the locker room.
That's what losing sounds right.
This is what losing sounds
We got a bunch of Jeremy Giambis.
But that my point in bringing that up right now is that missing thing you seem to be talking about, Carm. Like, what is something's missing here?
So that's the thing. The locker room has stayed together as far as not becoming so toxic like the Martellus Bennett, Brandon Marshall, Jay Cutler locker room that completely fell apart at the seams where they didn't even like each other. These guys like each other, but are they holding themselves to a higher standard that Cole Kmet has come in here so many times and talked about of, no, 7 wins is not good enough. I don't care if it's an improvement from last year. My standard is winning Super Bowls, and I'm not going to change that. Like, does everybody in that locker room have that same standard? And you would hope so, but, everybody processes their emotions differently, but I understand where you're coming from a competitive nature the day after a loss. You should be a little more pissed off, but at the same time, this is kind of a man in the arena thing, and those guys are in the arena. They bust their ass all year long, and the bullets stop flying when the season is over, and they have to transition into kind of an off-season mentality, and maybe that's a little quicker for your taste, but that's, I think that's kind of where it is too, if you want to be fair to the players, because you're implying that they don't care, and I would say they. But
did they play like they cared yesterday?
Right, but just because they got their ass whooped doesn't mean they didn't care. It just means they didn't have a good game plan. Like, if Getsy has a bad game plan, does that mean they don't care?
Based on how they played and how they came in today, I think it's fair to say that game last night mattered more to the fan base.
I'm not saying it's unfair, but I think if we're going to be fair to the conversation, we got to at least include, like, to say they didn't care with certainty, I think it is unfair to the players to not add in the conversation.
Eddie Jackson's tackling yesterday had nothing to do with the game plan. That would fall under a willingness to put your body in harm's way at the end of a long season versus and Eddie hasn't hit big in a long time, barely if ever. But it was overly noticeable yesterday how soft. But the Bears were physically beaten up yesterday.
But okay, so let me clarify, because you're right. I'm not accusing. Like, I know Cole Kmet cared.
The locker room cares, but there's another level to care.
It's just not good enough.
Right, that's the point. So I guess that's the point I'm trying to get at here. Congrats, Matt Eberflus. Like, your locker room is happy. They're all. It's a brotherhood. Deontay Foreman compared playing for the Bears to being at Texas, and what that felt like with like the whole city and the fan base and everything and just how much it matters. Let's see those results on the field. You should not be that happy today. You won 7 games. You blew how many? I can't even remember how. Was it 3?
3.
3 that they blew in the fourth quarter by
3 that they blew in unforgivable historic fashion.
The fact I can't even remember how many it was is bad.
Well, the thing, so you're talking about competitiveness. Dude, I'm as competitive as they come. And I used to walk on a job site with my hair on fire. I wanted to dominate the day. Honestly, that's how I felt. That's how I feel every day I walk in here. But can I expect every single person to act like me, get pissed off about every little thing, every little attention to detail? Like, that's not realistic. Everybody.
But my point I'm trying to make is, can a new head coach bring that out?
Right.
And I think what we're underlining here just a little bit as they're just looking at everything. And again, I think they know what they're going to do. But Flus has a little bit of a feeling like he's a substitute teacher and everyone's just having a great time. Like he's a nice guy. He's not. There's a level of terror. He's the only coach that I can remember where he walks into the room and it feels like he's more afraid of Jason Leisure and Courtney Cronin than they are of him. Like it's really bizarre to me.
Jason's a little intimidating.
Yeah, but you like when Lovey was up there.
Adam,
get out of here.
Jason and I are cool. I like Jason.
These are it's clear somebody is standing up here and is the head coach of the Bears, making a huge money, and we're wanting to have a relationship with him, and then the others and it's a little bit flipped with this in ways I've never seen.
When you're dealing with professional athletes, though, that's a hard balance. And Jim Harbaugh brings that out of his players. You see in the Michigan, press conference during the season, the player with the blood streaming down his face in the postgame presser talking about how bad he wants this. The assistant coach who has to coach for him is crying because of how much he cares about Jim Harbaugh. But when you get to the professional level, you might be able to cultivate that culture for a year or two, but you can't hold that forever. These are professional athletes. It's not just a culture of camaraderie. It's a business too. So I get what you're saying, and I wish every player was as bloodthirsty as Michael Jeffrey Jordan was, because that's what I was raised watching, but not every player has that. Not every person has that within them.
Frank the Bears fan says, I've seen Corey Wooten more fired up on it just came off the screen after dark than the Bears were yesterday. Yeah. Well, look, but at the same time, like, we ripped, and most of the world did, rightfully so, because Patrick Mahomes took it over the top, that little meltdown he had with the refs after that Bills game.
He cried.
But, like, that's the passion for a midseason game. There's no doubt how much that mattered to him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, he took it over the top, and it was crazy, but, like...
That's his competitiveness.
But that's what you need. You know what I mean? And so it's like, sometimes... What was the play yesterday where I think it was Terrell Smith not catching that interception? And I yelled at the TV, I go, come on, man, you got to catch that. This is the NFL. And if there's like one takeaway from this entire show today, I want fans to think about that. This is the National Football League. It is the biggest sport at the highest level. It's time for the Bears to act like it. And I'm talking from the top down. And they just don't do it enough. And that's why when I bring up that list of head coaching candidates, can you do better? That's the question. Can you do better what's here? That's what I hope Kevin Warren is looking at. And by the way, if the answer is no, they can't get Jim Harbaugh. If they can't, make a play for, and I don't know who that guy is, like, let's just say it's Bobby Slowick, who they like, an offensive head coach who they think can elevate whoever they end up drafting here, and they don't think they can do it, then keep Flus. That's all fine. But let's not just have a party here because the Bears got along this year and they won 7 games and they're all friends. That's great. That's an important thing. That does not mean you're going to win a Super Bowl with this group. That's all I'm saying. You should be pissed off that you played that way against your rival yesterday. And I'm not seeing that right now.
The time that we saw that they were really pissed was the Cleveland game. That locker room that was a real angry little bit of sniping at the coaching staff, a lot of sniping at the coaching staff locker room. The Bears care, but there is some level of looseness that you're talking about that I'm agreeing with, and also we talked about it on the postgame yesterday. Jaquan Brisker's like, and I love Brisker. I love the no-fly zone. I love his competitiveness. But dude, you're knocking on the Packers like they've got nothing. They've beaten you 10 in a row. Just sit there and say, look, they kicked our ass. They're better than us. It's driving me crazy. I'm not going to sleep all off season until we get them. And we didn't hear enough of that. But what you're talking about, Hoge, is raising the bar, and that's what ComEd is trying to do. It is getting easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles, and that is something, Gregory, we can all get behind for the health of the planet and for the well-being of all of us who share it.
That's right. The electric grid is evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence towards an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
Then what should business owners do if they want to get involved like they should here, Gregory?
P. Allen Braggs. Go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, don't wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. Good for business, good for the planet, good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
Yes, I did. Go now and see how electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
That is outstanding. And what's also outstanding is our friends at Empire Today. And with Empire Today, we're hooking you up on the flooring where you get that shop-at-home convenience, the right products for your need, quick, professional, amazing installation. Empire, they are the best place to get your new flooring. There are no copycats out there. They're not going to be beaten on quality, service, speed. Some competitors are going to advertise low-quality products. Empire doesn't carry those products, so you're not going to get the lowest prices. But you're putting flooring into your house. You want stuff that is going to last. You're going to get the value by putting the good stuff in there. They also make it super easy for you to figure out which way you want to go with their virtual floor designer. Great way to see how your new floors are going to look in any space. It's easy. You snap a picture of your room, and you can instantly see how the new floor is going to look in your room. Shopping for floors at the big box store, that's a super frustrating way to go about it. You might want to talk to someone today who's going to be working in plumbing or doesn't know their stuff. Empire Today, this is what they do. They live and breathe the flooring world. So you're getting the best, and they're going to hook you up with a high-quality product that you're going to be so happy you made the choice. So this is what you want to do. You want to schedule a free in-home estimate today. All of our outstanding CHGO listeners, we give you a $350 discount when you use the promo code CHGO. There are some restrictions that apply, but you're going to get that discount. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details. New year, get yourself some new flooring.
All right. There's a comment a few minutes ago I want to bring up here. And it had to do with what we were just talking about, the expectations, and essentially claiming that the expectations are too high. This is DBD. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Says, I don't give a shit, Hoge. You have unreasonable expectations. They improved their point differential by 118. If they do that again, they'll be in the top 5 to 6 teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you appreciate you watching the show here? Do you understand why they improved that point differential?
I think I have an idea where you're going. Why don't you explain it?
They're not giving up 40 points a game anymore. It's not because the offense got better. It's because they gave up a league-high 463 points last season. Okay? And they improved that. So what do you want them to do next year if we're going to go along? So if your point is if they just do the same thing again that they did from last year to this year, they do the same thing again, they're going to be in the top 5 to 6 teams in the league? What, do you want them to shut out every team next year? They're not going to give up a point next year. They have to do better offensively. We have to raise the bar. That's offensive coordinator. That's system. That's players, including your quarterback. Okay? Everyone wants to talk about this great 7-game stretch that the Bears just went on since Justin came back. Okay? 2 of those games, they did not score a single touchdown.
Minnesota. Are you talking about yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
2 of those 7 games, they did not score a touchdown. Again, National Football League. No touchdowns. Another game, they scored 1 touchdown. Do you know where they got the ball on that touchdown drive?
1 yard line.
The 1 yard line. Okay? So this 7-game stretch that everybody, including Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles, are leaning on to point to all the progress they've made. 3 of those 7 games, if we're going to include the game where they got the ball at the 1 yard line and scored a touchdown, essentially 3 of those 7 games, they did not score a touchdown. Come on, guys. Seriously.
And
let's not keep our heads in the weeds here. We can raise expectations. It's not unrealistic. Again, I appreciate that comment. I'm not trying to come at you too hard here. But it's not unrealistic to say you should be able to score at least 1 touchdown.
Right.
How about 2?
Right.
How about 3? Now, to their credit, they scored 4 against the Falcons last week. But 1 game against 1 decent team that just fired their head coach last night does not mean that all this progress is real.
Well,
and even the defensive progress, if you want me to go down that road, we can start listing off the quarterbacks that they beat in those games, if you really want to. But I'm going to spare you that right now because it's rough to accept. But even though all that defensive progress, as I start to lose my voice here, can be questioned, quite frankly.
Right, because to hammer that point home, they had a last place schedule. And they're going to have a last place schedule again next year. But when you're playing good opponents, we're saying, okay, the defense is getting to this point. They're going to be this good. Well, look at how it went against the Packers. He's 15 of 27, 204, or to end the year, 26 of 32, 316 yards, 2 touchdowns. My guy Shane Marsaw from Tape Never Lies Network, he sent me this. Bears defense versus average to excellent quarterbacks in 2023, which included Jordan Love, who they faced twice, Jared Goff, who they faced twice, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, Joe Flacco, and Kyler Murray. 25 touchdowns and 8 interceptions for those quarterbacks, a record of 2-10 against those quarterbacks. And so that's the other point of it. When we start to play upper echelon talent, they're going to put up games. Jordan Love has 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions against the Bears in 2 games started against Chicago.
Can you say that again?
Jordan Love has 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in 2 games against the Chicago Bears starting. Justin Fields in 6 games, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Jordan already has more touchdowns against the Bears than Justin has against the Packers. Not all his fault, but it's just the point of what our standards should be, a little higher
and
on both sides of the ball.
And I get people are getting mad at me right now in the chat. I get it. My point is, this is the 7-game stretch you're hanging your hat on. This is the 7-game stretch.
We can't make this mistake. We did this with the kicker in 2019. If we just get the kicker fixed, we'll be fine.
And Braggs, you actually just stole what I was about to say, which is fine. But this 7-game stretch that everyone's hanging their hat on, do you know how many passing touchdowns Justin Fields has in this 7-game stretch that everyone's saying this is why you keep Justin?
6?
5. In 7 games.
Well, let's go back to...
Now, to be fair, because I know what everyone's going to say. Sorry, Carm.
No, you're good.
3 rushing touchdowns. Yes, he has 3 touchdowns. So even with those, though, that's 8 touchdowns in 7 games. Come on. Again, this is the National Football League. Can we raise our expectations? If you're trying to tell me that a 7-game stretch is why we run it all back, and that quarterback had 8 touchdowns in those 7 games, we're in the wrong league, man. They need to be relegated. Can we do Premier League stuff? They need to be down in the next level, the next division, if we're going to talk about winning the Champions League or the champion, whatever they call it, the championship. I don't know. That's a different country.
Let's go back to the preseason for 1 second. And and anytime we said anything,
as long as you don't bring up Chase Claypool,
I'm not going to bring up Chase Claypool, who I don't know why I don't know what the Dolphins were thinking yesterday. In the biggest moment of the game, here comes Tua firing it to Chase Claypool, who clearly could have knocked that ball.
They read my training camp reporting before the game.
Right. He certainly wasn't dominating yesterday. But the point is this: look, when the over-unders came out on yardage in the preseason, Justin, the odds makers put Justin at 2,750 yards. And Bears fans are like, that is the easiest bet of the over of all time. And I'm like, they must know something here because that number is so people are like, he's going to throw for 4,000 yards. He's 4,000 yards. Carman, you're going to. And I was like, he's not throwing for 4,000 yards. I'll bet you on it. I'll shave my head. And of course, and like that, like, and also at the time, people were like, he's going to be the MVP. There were the most amount of money gambled on MVP, I think, was on Justin Fields, and an insane amount of money was put on. And I was coming out of training. I'm like, look, I might be wrong on some things, but I am telling you, he is not winning the MVP. There is no chance that is happening. The offense does not look good at all, and that's what we saw. So and then it was 27-50. He finished with 25-62. All right, so look, I get it. It's not all on him, but that's where it is. 2,562 yards. Jordan Love's throwing for 4,000 yards. C.J. Stroud's throwing for 4,000 yards. Whatever's going on offensively, Fields, Flus, the OC, it ain't close to good enough. It's embarrassing. You're 3 years in and you haven't sniffed 3,000 yards? That's vile.
And I know some people in the chat are going to say this, which isn't all his fault.
I said it just now,
right,
dude.
Right, but you got to really hammer that point home because it sounds like you're drilling Justin.
I am saying it as a whole operation. I did that yesterday. I'm doing it now. Like that is just disgusting, is what it is.
And this is where I wanted to bring in the most underrated moment of the broadcast last night. Because the same people that are saying, oh, it's all Getsy's fault. Well, Jordan Love's only better because he's got better coaching. Okay, he's also running around with the youngest roster in the entire National Football League. Okay, can we start giving players some credit sometime? And quite frankly, some blame, too? Well, and Tony Romo.
Tom Izzo wants to blame players.
Yeah. Tony Romo, I thought this was great last night. I don't know if you guys picked up on this during the broadcast, but he went to the camera in the booth with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. And it was one of the most impressive Brett Favre impressions I've ever seen. Did you see this? When he went through this whole thing about how Aaron Rodgers learned from Brett Favre. Now Jordan Love's learning from Aaron Rodgers. And he talked about where they hold the ball and the arm slot of how he throws it. And it was like everything about the bounce, where the ball was, and the delivery. It was like Cole Kmet on the roof here doing the batting stance impressions of all the guys he did in that viral video we did. And it just goes back to the idea of that's what it's supposed to look like. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Jordan Love just eclipsed the Bears' single-season passing yards and single-season touchdowns in his first full season. Just like that. How many years of it? It was 104 years we're at with the Bears now?
Sure.
Dude did it in one. You know what I mean? Like, it's come on. It can't just because Matt LaFleur. Just because the Bears have Luke Getsy. Luke Getsy was on Matt LaFleur's staff.
Right.
He just came from there. Like, at some point, it's the players. At some point, Jordan Love's just good. At some point, when you have the number one pick, you got to move on. Like, I don't know. It's hard truth. I get it. It really is hard. It's hard to accept. But we can't just keep walking around with blinders on. That's the only point here. And quite frankly, if you want to come at me and be like, Caleb Williams doesn't show that on his film, I'll listen to you a little bit. No, a lot of his film is scrambling around and playing hero ball. Fine. But whatever it is, whoever it is, that's what the Bears need, man. They got to find that guy who's in rhythm, that's playing quarterback, that looks as comfortable as Jordan Love did last night when he's just Touchdown. And it's last week, too.
Dude, he did it.
Touchdown.
He did it in the opening week, and it was nauseating. He had one flip touchdown that I was like, oh, God, he looks awful comfortable back there. This is not good. And we didn't want to say it week one because it was the start of the year, and you see the reaction in the chat right now about it where we're pushing back. But I was like, I don't know, man. Dude looks pretty damn good. This is not good.
And he had his struggles halfway through the year, then he got hot in the second half of the year once they started to find their groove.
But he knows what he's doing, man.
And another counter at it. Well, he got to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. This is why you have to give Justin Fields more time. Justin Fields, well documented, not sitting in an ideal position, learning from a Hall of Famer. He's sitting behind Nathan Peterman.
Right.
And started under Andy Dalton. It's just the reality of the situation. Just because it's worked in other situations where guys have been sitting, that's not the situation he's been in here. And it just doesn't look the same.
It would be a bold move if Poles is going to trade the pick. It'd be the boldest move, actually, by far. If he says, "Look, I am leaning into the Flus, I am leaning into the Getsy, I am leaning into Justin. I'm getting as much as and in plays poker with it," but he does that, and ultimately he ends up trading and getting as many picks and doing exactly what he did last year to the 10th power. That'd be the boldest play, and a lot of people would be talking about, they would be doubting him to the moon. But if he comes out, on top, that would be amazing. But it would be super bold.
Do you want to address this comment from Jake Flanagan?
Sure. Let's see.
Jake kind of been circling us during the show like a shark. Like, I'm a little worried.
This is our general manager who has the power to fire all of us.
Yeah, he's here too.
I know
and that's what I mean. He's been like kind of. It's been like he's been sort of walking around.
He did make eye contact with us earlier when he walked by. I didn't want to look at him.
Bears kept. Here's Jake's comment for the audio world. Bears kept Rex too long.
You got to read it right though. Bears kept Rex too long. Bears kept Jay too long. Bears kept Mitch too long, and now they want to get rid of Fields 1 year earlier than they should. Period.
See, but I'm sure Jake is very smart to know that
based on all those other examples, shouldn't this be the right time to get rid of Justin?
Well, and that's the other point. Like, they had no choice with Mitch because they didn't have any first-round picks. Now, you can definitely blame them for not looking into Jalen Hurts in the second round the year they got Nick Foles, but any of those situations and some situations you could point to across the league, if those teams had the number one pick, the Bears had the number one pick during those quarterbacks' tenures, they would have got those guys out earlier. It's just a situation that Foles has in front of him.
To Jake's point, and I'm 1,000% with him, not just because he could fire me. I would, if you could tell me ideally that we can keep Justin one more year and then you can sit there at one next year and make the decision then and have this quarterback class or something of this ilk consensus number one.
I mean,
I'm just saying I would love, I don't think it's been, 1,000%, it has not been fair to Justin. He hasn't been coached properly. He hasn't had enough talent with him. He's gone through 2 regimes. He's gone through a rebuild. It has not been fair.
Don't protect him.
Now a draft pick is screwing him out of maybe having a fourth year prove it year.
All that's true.
He's insanely talented. He's beloved in the locker room. There's a zillion things to like about Justin, but the way the time frame has come out here, you have to. It's off. You got to make the decision now, which sucks. So in an ideal scenario, I'd love to push it back a year and let's see what he does.
And the OC conversation is totally a part of this, because if you're going to change your offense again and make Justin learn yet another offense in year 4, that's asking a lot. So if the Bears do move on from Luke Getsy, let's take a look at some candidates you could bring in here. Now, if you want to make the argument that Greg Roman at the top of this list would be a good fit for Justin Fields, I'll listen to you. Certainly worked out pretty well with Lamar Jackson. They also moved on, and things are still going well for Lamar Jackson, even without Greg Roman. He's going to be the MVP again. So
yeah, there's a lot of Ravens fans that aren't big fans of Greg Roman, but
yeah, I'm just
I take Greg Roman in a second.
Clint Kubiak, who's the passing game coordinator for the 49ers. Brian Fleury, who's the 49ers tight end coach. A lot of great candidates from 49ers.
Those are a couple of names, Brian Fleury and Jared Johnson, that Peter King brought up in his article this morning.
And schematically, there would be not a huge shift there. Similar tree. Now, it's not quite the same exact offense, but it is a lot of the same stuff. The Shanahan type of offense, outside zone. There would be enough of a language there that it might not be too big of an adjustment for Justin Fields if you went that route. So you could sell me on that. I'm cool with that. And then Kellen Moore was also on that list of possible OC candidates.
And Eric Bieniemy, who was on our head coaching list, because we don't know the reason why he wasn't the interim head coach. We know the reason why he went to Washington. You ask, why did he go to Washington when they knew he was a lame duck? Because he's trying to prove to the league, outside of Patrick Mahomes, that he can do the job. Because Mahomes, with Matt Nagy ruining that for everyone, now no one trusts who's coming out of KC. So he's like, I need to get out of there to prove to the league that I am head coach worthy. So now that the Washington situation has shit the bed, maybe he looks to come back over, to a lateral move as an OC for the Bears, and in an opportunity, whether it's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, and say, this is my opportunity to become a head coach in a year.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that offense, though. But we've already not that he's going to run the exact same thing, but we've already seen Justin in that offense. Yeah, and it didn't go great.
And just wrapping this whole thing up a little bit, at least. Look, if I could pick a scenario that happened, just to be clear here, if I could pick it that the Bears go against the grain, they stick with everybody here, half the fan base freaks out, and that ends up working out. If you could see your future, be your future, and tell me what was going to happen, versus they go this way and they draft Caleb or whatever, and they zoom to it, I would pick the stay with who's here, because I like these dudes. If I would love to see Justin get over and have the moment that he had in the Atlanta game at Soldier Field, and have that level of just sort of collegiate atmosphere around the Bears. I think it'd be the coolest thing.
CF Candy also put in the chat, why didn't anybody bring up Todd Canellis from the Bucks and
Dave Canellis? You had the name, yeah,
Dave Canellis,
and it's an interesting name because he was an OC with Seattle, and he was
that would have to be for a head coach, though. He's already the OC.
Right, he's not going to make a lateral move off of Baker.
Yeah. But he could be on your head coaching list. Sure, he's done a decent job down there, and a lot of people seem to like him. All right, we got a ton of super chats to get to as well. Before we do that, though, I told you earlier in the show I had a rant on Mark Carman.
Oh, great! Here we go.
Yes. Yeah. Let me just.
Yeah, I'm gonna disappoint you though.
Damn it!
I'm gonna disappoint you here, Greg.
Fuck.
Unfortunately, so many people out there like to shit on my guy Mark Carman here. Always, I don't know, what do they call you, Mr. Negative? Cram takes. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to throw you some flowers, Mark.
Oh, God.
Wow.
You predicted the Bears would go 7-10 this season. You tied me. Record predictions, picking the games this year, 11-6. You didn't go 9-1 in your last 10, though. And you had a pretty wild take that you'd rather have Derek Carr lead you to the playoffs over Justin Fields.
Oh, God.
Now, I still disagree with that take, but I have to admit, it aged pretty damn well. It really did. Derek Carr
Thanks, buddy.
Probably did pretty much everything he could to get the Saints to the playoffs, including yesterday, and they just fell short because Justin Fields couldn't beat the Packers. So, in a weird roundabout way, Justin Fields kept the Saints out of the playoffs, even though I'm not entirely sure that's how that would have worked, but hey.
No.
So, everyone can sit here every day and knock my guy Mark Carman here. But a lot of you owe him an apology. He's got some wild takes. There was that time he said he would have Tyson Bagent over Justin Fields in the Super Bowl.
There was that time.
But Other than that, guy made a lot of good predictions this year, I have to say. So, good job, Mark. Haters gonna hate. Keep hating.
I'm touched. I'm touched. I think I gotta go pee or something. This is amazing. Thank you, Adam.
Well, you did only make it 30 minutes into the show without.
You did that
peeing
already.
today.
That was a great one.
You definitely have to go again, don't you?
Nah, I'm okay.
I will say I saw him wiping his hands on his pants, so he did wash his hands.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We are making progress here.
Thank you. And then Brian Schuster out there. Tyson Bagent would have beat the Packers yesterday.
Wow.
Would like to say, since this company has started, for 2 years, I am leading for the 2-year leaderboard. I'm
Okay.
I'm 23-11
What am
picking
I?
the Bears.
What's Hoge?
Well, last year you both finished 9-8. Both of you went 9-8 last
What
year.
did you finish last year?
I went 13-4 picking the Bears
okay.
last
Well, you
year.
had a hell of a year.
We didn't have some big soliloquy about how great Greg was last year, so I figured we'd do it now. 13-4, and then I went 10-7 this year, and I got screwed out of the Denver and Cleveland game. And we're not going to talk about the games
Now
I
you
got
sound
lucky
like the
in.
Bears players.
I wanted those games.
Okay.
Because now I got to hear from him all offseason about acting like some soothsayer.
It was a tough year picking, man. 11-6.
It was a tough year to pick the Bears. And like I gave shout out to Patrick Finley, who I think ended 14-3 picking the Bears. And then Chris Sims, I think, was 15-2 picking the Bears this year.
Okay, it wasn't
That's
that hard of a year.
unbelievable. So shout out to Patrick Finley. We don't leave out the national media.
Yeah. Well, they wish they were Mark Carman is the point.
That is the point.
I don't know
No.
if they wish that.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have super chats to get to, unless you got something.
No,
else.
I don't. But was just gonna say I'm just surprised that we've gotten through this entire show and we're coming up on 2 hours here and nothing's happened. Just going through the old interviews.
I told you that's what they were doing today. Now we
Yeah.
might have to do an emergency show later, which, by the way, we will.
Well,
and we're going to be your home for
well,
any
my-
type of emergency that come up in the next few months. There could be a lot of them.
The only breaking news that I saw in the chat, and you know how I monitor the chat and take their word for everything,
Oh, God.
is my guy Doug Dyer, who has been trying to get me fired all day. He put in the chat that ESPN 1000, who has Matt Eberflus on every Monday, canceled that interview for later today.
Well, he's in meetings.
He's in meetings.
Wait, can you repeat what you just said? He canceled it for later today? What does that mean?
I don't know.
He's not doing his
He
normal
put in the
Monday-
chat.
Is he
He's
doing
like,
it later today?
They canceled it. That's
Or
what
is
he
it not
said.
happening today?
It's not happening.
Okay. Well, he's got a
And
meeting
that-
with Nicholas Moreano.
That's only confirmed by Doug Dyer, though.
He's got his exit interview with Nicholas Moreano.
Doug's doing some reporting
Who
in
he
the
calls
chat.
him. He calls him
He's
Nicker.
been very
That's Nick's nickname, Nicker.
okay. Okay.
The Knickerbocker.
If we're talking about the Matt Eberflus show on ESPN 1000, he used to do the show in the mornings, and then David Kaplan asked him questions.
Yeah.
And then he stopped doing that show. And then he was doing it in the afternoons, and I'm assuming that he can't do it today because they're having meetings all day long, and he's not leaving his meetings to do the show. I don't think that means that Matt Eberflus is out the door.
Doug Dyer's in the chat saying, not happening later today. The show isn't happening anymore. So Doug is, dipping his feet into the reporting waters. Maybe one day he'll be sitting in this chair.
Well, that's a good job by Doug, but I'm going to...
great job by Doug.
I would not read into anything as far as Matt Eberflus' future.
I'm not
there.
surprised that it happened today. So
I'm not either. Doug's excited about it, so I figured I'd put a spotlight on it.
We weren't going to announce it, but, we are working very intently on a deal with Matt Eberflus to join us here at CHGO.
Okay. All right, should we get super chats?
Yeah, we have 45 of them waiting. Oh,
Wow.
46 now.
Okay.
So we're going to have to go rapid fire on these. And while we're doing that, please hit the like button. We have 2,600 people watching, only 543 likes.
What are you laughing at?
Just that we're going to be doing this show after Cubs is over.
Probably, yeah.
Hey, man, it's a big day. It's a big week, and we're not going anywhere, so we'll be around. And you've got Bears After Dark tonight, and both me and Hoge are planning on jumping
I think so.
on.
I think we're...
It's going to be there.
We know it's a busy day, and we're going to keep jumping on with, especially if news breaks. We'll actually start that show early, depending on what's going on. British Bear Phil Cundy, 10 pounds sterling here on this one. Eberflus and Getsy out. Where was the passion and creativity? No fire against your rivals. Give Jim H. the money. Go get Marvin Harrison and a new center, or I fear next season will be the same. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that's been here throughout the season.
Paulie Z, $1.99, hashtag fire Eberflus. That was an outstanding, to the point. Good job, Paulie Z. You're up, Braggs. We're going through this like this. Go.
Okay, British Bear Phil Cundy. The only thing Flus has up his sleeve is a whole lot of nothing. Hashtag Matt Eberflus. Loser. Did I not read that right?
You did a great job.
The only constant success this season is you legends of CHGO. Oh, and Cole. Cole. We all love Cole.
Yes.
Just for the record,
we had fun with Cole.
I miss Cole. I want to call Cole right now. I want to talk to Cole. Do you have Cole's number?
Cole would be upset about the game yesterday.
Cole is a leader in that locker room, man.
We hope to talk to Cole, come in here in the next couple weeks. Once the dust settles a little bit.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, we don't. I want to see
He promised he'd
like.
come in. You tell him I said he promised.
That's right. Isaac Siegel, $20. This reminds me a lot of the Cutler 2014 situation myself. I was a Cutler defender back then, always saying better offensive line, better wide receivers, better defense every year with him, and it's Groundhog's Day again. This time, pull the lever.
Right, because if you remember, they ended that season losing to the Packers, and it was Jay Cutler's best game as a Bear, but they lost and didn't make the playoffs. It was their chance to make the playoffs. Julius Peppers doesn't pick up a fumble. Randall Cobb, damn you, Chris Conte. Jay Cutler played great, though, so they gave him a big contract. I think that was his third contract with the Bears, and then everything went the other way.
I like looking back.
Teams like the Seahawks got Russell Wilson. Teams like the Cowboys got Dak Prescott. And we were like, well, what are we going to do without Jay? We got to sign Jay because who else is going to be our quarterback? Well, other teams figured it out, and we had Jay with John Fox.
We, the Bear fan, will no longer live from scarcity. We will live from abundance, and we, the Carm, will not support anybody comparing Jay Cutler to Justin Fields because Justin Fields is the king in that locker room, and Jay Cutler was an idiot. All right, Super Chat, $5 from Patrick Metz. Fan appreciation post. I want to thank the entire CHGO crew for the great content all season. You guys are awesome. Patrick, thank you so much for saying that. We really appreciate it.
Yep. Yes. Football CF Candy. That sign by fans shows the disease in this city is fans accepting mediocrity. Celebrating a 7-win season, standards should be higher. Fire Flus, fire Getsy.
Frank, the Bears fan, $1.99. What is this?
Don't
one?
read that.
No,
Okay.
that's the safety for the Packers. Is that who hit Justin Fields yesterday? I think that's what this is.
Yes. Oh, I thought we were just starting to do
that's not
super
somebody in the
chats
chat.
to talk
No.
crap to other people in the chat. Which, if we're doing that, I've got some super chats.
No, we're not
that
doing.
I'm
We're not
gonna
doing
make.
that. No.
If I can, yeah. Am I
Well,
allowed to do that?
that's in reference to the hit yesterday.
I'm assuming that's who hit.
I'm gonna
him.
make
That's the
a
only thing that
big
makes sense,
old
'cause he's a
super chat
safety
about
for
my
the
guy
Packers.
Doug.
What happened?
Somebody's doing their own show right now. Let's go back to the real show for our guy.
You don't have to pay to talk on this show, Greg.
No, I will, though.
Total Malarkey. I nearly read that as Todd Malarkey again. Total Malarkey. Hurry up, boys. Got to get my smack talk in before my lunch break ends. I do like y'all's show, though. Thank you, Total Malarkey. Drew Black is up, Braggs.
Drew Black is up. Just checked. Flus, $4.99 super chat. Flus has only beaten one team with a record over 500 at kickoff, but Dick Vermeil didn't have success till year 3. Sarcasm.
Yeah. That was the more I thought. We brought that up yesterday in the post game. The more I thought about that too, I was like, Dick Vermeil was like an established winner in the NFL already.
That's just
he wasn't a rookie head coach.
Dick Vermeil's like, come on, he's the Hall of Fame level dude. That's just not. That's a ridiculous comparison.
Well, the president of the Bears was the one who made it.
I understand.
Why it's a talking point.
Because he
Isn't
loves
the guy
Dick
that
Vermeil.
signed Mark Wahlberg as a kick returner. Right? Invincible.
Oh yes,
It's an invincible joke.
Yeah, I got it. He didn't really sign Mark Wahlberg, but yeah. Blake Fries, $4.99. Getsy will be fired. Eberflus and Fields will be back, and everyone will be gone next season. Typical Bears.
No, that is not what's going to happen, Blake. All right, but thank you for weighing in. We appreciate it. Hotel Whiskey Super Chat, $10. New Zealand, $10. Wow, okay, thank you. Firing Getsy but not Flus is Nagy-esque. Not overwhelming support from some players interviewed. Example, DeMarcus Walker and the Sandman. We are all on #Harbaugh Watch.
God, I will literally cry tears of joy on our breaking news show if the Bears do the bold and hire Jim Harbaugh. I think it's a long shot, but I haven't given up hope yet.
Hotel Whiskey, I will be stunned. Beyond stunned if that happens. But
I will be stunned as well.
Yeah.
Power 17, $199. Slowick for head coach. What about Bevel for offense coordinator? Thoughts? Darrell Bevel is currently the quarterback's coach in Miami, the Dolphins.
And he was a OC in Seattle, right?
Yes, forever. Interviewed for the Bears head coaching job multiple times.
It's an interesting name.
So, yeah. Grumpy Bear 00, $5. Is it true Bears fans outside Halas Hall today with picket signs?
Yeah.
Oh, it said picket
Someone put up signs in support of Justin Fields. And Jalen Johnson, too. There was a Pay Jalen, I think, right? Pay JJ?
There was some meatball out there holding a sign that said, I don't know what to do.
That was excellent. Rumor has it, perhaps, that Jake Flanagan's car was spotted out there. I'm not exactly sure if that's accurate, but that was, making its way around Twitter. Keith Chow, $5. We all know there's nothing Chicago front offices love more than continuity. Shout out to Matt, Big Dave, and the GOAT over at CHGO Bulls.
Right.
They do love continuity over there. Bring back our packs.
Oh, God.
Brags?
Yes, sir. I didn't know we were,
Yes, we're doing this.
You didn't know. You've been doing them.
I didn't know.
You did know.
Elijah Daisy.
Daisy, $4.99 super chat. I'm starting to get fatigued here. If the Bears move on from Justin Fields, am I the only one who wants Michael Penix Jr.? Like, dude has been undoubtedly the best QB in college football. Well, Elijah, I'll tell you this much. In about 3.5 hours, we're going to do another show called Bears After Dark with my guy Corey Wooten, who's going to try to bully me, but I'm not going to let him. You may or may not see a couple guys sitting to the right of me on that show as well. Somewhat of a national championship pregame show where we talk about some more news that comes out and let Corey yell at me for an hour.
Can't wait.
That's why
I am very excited to see on tomorrow's show what we're talking about with Michael Penix Jr., what we're talking about with Jim Harbaugh. Because there are going to be ramifications from tonight's game.
That's why we want to do After Dark early so we could all sit and watch this national championship game in peace.
Just a possible relevancy to the Bears and also even maybe J.J. McCarthy to a certain extent.
And Romeo Dunze, wide receiver, future Bear.
Some good players. And I saw a tweet earlier before the show started that Michael Penix Jr.'s stats against 9 ranked teams the last 2 years, they're like unbelievable. Touchdown, interception, passing yards. He's been very, very good.
The guy's the greatest player I've ever seen.
Nicholas Raimondo, $4.99. I'm for keeping Fields and drafting Marvin Harrison, but as a backup plan, drafting Michael Penix Jr. with one of those additional picks.
We did talk about that nuclear option a little bit here, which is you'd have me at hello if they did that.
Stephen Brodhay, $10 super chat. I've been watching the NFL since the Bears won it all in 1963. When Carm was the ripe age of 19 years old. With all due respect.
Shout out Ed Obradovich.
With all due respect to Papa Bear, we have never had a top 5 coach. We should worry about that first, then QB1.
We've never had a top 5 coach? What about Ditka was a top 5 coach. Yeah. At least in his prime. All right. ACG, $4.99. Leave Getsy in Green Bay, still on Meatball Island with Sir Braggs. Famous Chicago saying, there's always next year. Keep Justin Fields and bear down. Still F Green Bay. Thank you, AC.
Brandon Halford, $10.
What's up, Brandon?
First overall, first and third next year for Justin Herbert. New GM, new coach in LA, salary cap hell. Think the Chargers would do it. What about Arthur Smith as the new OC? Love the show, fellas. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like a new coach taking that job's doing it because Justin Herbert's there.
And the Herbert scenario is a wild one.
That is a wild one.
They hire Jim Harbaugh. He says, "I want Justin Herbert. Go get him." That's the way that scenario would plan out. That's the way it would play out. Brandon, give it a less than 1% chance.
Or he just takes the Chargers job and
correct. That would be the 99% more likelihood as far as him and Herbert.
Yeah. So there you go. Ramsey's Rendon. Quick off-topic question. People say Justin Fields and Caleb have the same weaknesses. That being said, does Caleb have greater strengths on the field?
Ramus, if you go and watch the highlights of Caleb, you won't see Justin Fields. I don't think.
I mean, I understand why people sort of say that. A lot of it is running around, scrambling around, making hero ball, but he gets the ball out faster. His passes to the perimeter, everything about his drop back, his release,
is way fast. Maneuvers in the pocket.
It's faster. Is he Jordan Love standing back there with all that rhythm and effortlessly kind of throwing the ball? No. A little bit more frenetic, definitely. But I don't see the same guy as Justin Fields. And
who does he remind you of?
Well, that's where you start delving into the hyperbole, right?
But that's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like.
Delving into hyperbole land.
Right. Well, and he's not, and it doesn't, and whatever. But he reminds you of 15. That's who he reminds you of.
Well, and going back to my Jordan Love scouting report, which I put in my newsletter Friday, that was mentioned.
Well, there you go.
Where I thought some of Jordan Love's college tape looked like Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he's not that. But
he's got a huge arm. Yeah. A huge arm.
Scott, shout out to Robert Mays, who I heard talking about this. Arm talent versus arm strength.
He has a throw against...
There's a difference.
He has a throw against Stanford where he throws it 66 yards from the throw to where it hits the receiver in stride in the hands, 66 yards on a dime for a touchdown. He has a huge arm. It's unreal.
It's Bajan-like.
It's Bajan-esque.
Ethan Rucker, $9.99. I'm just not even going to acknowledge that. Flus isn't bad, but there has to be at least 15 guys out there better than him. I want to see the Bears win big games. I don't want our peak being excited over beating the Falcons and Cardinals. The Duke, $20 more. Carman, you want to take it?
Yeah, Duke, good to have you back with the $20. I'm fine with Methodical and all that jazz, but give us fans something, Mr. Warren. Launching Getsy is an easy choice, and the entire fan base rejoices. He has earned his pink slip. Do it sooner rather than later. We want the Duke to sleep tonight. We want him to enjoy his Manhattan, his old-fashioned, his dirty martini up. What do you think the Duke drinks?
Old Fashions.
He's not drinking no Coors Light.
Old Fashions.
It's the banquet beer.
I do. I would love a Coors Light right now, but I'm doing dry January. Good for me.
Are you?
I am.
All right.
Why am I just finding out about this on January 8th?
Because I didn't trust myself to get to this far, and I have.
How many more do we have, Steven?
We have 30 more. We gotta pick up the pace.
No way.
Yeah, we're not.
2 hours.
Let's get to the top
we're
ones.
Going to be
have
back.
They all been on the screen?
They all have, yes.
Okay.
We're going to be back for Bears After Dark. All of us. I'm making them join so they can protect me from Corey Wooten. People are like, stand tall against Corey Wooten. The man killed Brett Favre. It's terrifying, okay?
Yeah, Brett Favre's not dead. No. Hotel Whiskey, 5 New Zealand doll hairs again. Can't believe Braggs named his daughter after a Vikings receiver.
Well, I did give my wife 2 options for names. This is a true story. It was either Addison Grace or Jordan Elizabeth after Michael Jeffrey Jordan, and she chose Addison Grace.
You did name her before Jordan Addison was on the Vikings. I will defend you on that
too.
I will defend you on that one.
Let's all do all the $10 and up ones from this point on.
Okay, Edward, 20. I don't know what. Is that the Brazil? Is this the Brazilian one? I think the dollars. I think Brazil. I think it. This is where law always knows all the currency.
20 units of currency.
No one's better with currency than Lawrence Benedetto. We're doing our best without him today.
Bears should finally follow the Packers' route, draft a quarterback in the second or third round, let him sit behind Fields, and if Fields is not the guy 2 years from now, you developed his substitute that allows us to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. too.
They drafted Jordan Love in the first round for the record, and they caused a lot of angst up there for a long time. They probably should have moved on sooner the way the dude looks.
And I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. Jordan Love was developing behind a Hall of Famer.
That does matter.
It's not the situation that the Bears would have.
Unless he's going to develop behind Bajan. $9.99 from Ed Brown.
I hate you.
What do you get?
Take back my credit I gave you earlier in the show.
What do you get for where did Ed Brown just go? What do you get for one versus what you would get for Fields with
Steven, can you make that bottom screen just a little bit bigger?
With taking a QB pick one, that's the debate.
Thank you.
All right. What do you get for one versus what do you get for Fields with taking a QB with pick one? That's the debate. Well, yeah, we've gone on this road.
Yep,
Ed.
we're going to continue to.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this, I promise you, Ed, for
Every day
for the next 4 months.
And your kids look amazing, Ed. Thank you for
Grateful Cubs, $10. Relax. It is good. The locker room is healthy. They're saying farewells to brothers before break. Some of them not coming back.
I'm with you, mostly Grateful Cubs, but also I think what Adam is underlining is worth
There's
just
a difference between that and it sounding like a party was happening.
If I was a player in that locker room, I would have tackled Nick Moreano.
Why?
I'm just telling that locker room is amazing, and that locker room at times this year just felt like they were having a little too much fun for where they are at in the NFL hierarchy.
People coming after Braggs in the super chats all of a sudden. Total malarkey, $10. Braggs, if y'all
Todd
hate
Malarkey.
Scotties. What? Oh, yeah, you called him Todd.
We called him Todd Malarkey last time.
Todd. Braggs, if y'all hate Scotties that bad, then y'all need to stop coming up here for vacation all the time.
Listen, I don't. Thank you very much. Adam does, because he's a traitor, but I don't step
I
foot
also
in
didn't say
Wisconsin.
anything bad about them.
Yeah, well, I did. And your dad was going at me in the chat about it, too. I have
married
no
one.
regrets.
You ever been up
I married a
you-
Scotty.
Have you been to Miller Park?
Yeah.
Do you like it? Don't lie. You like it. There it is. Parks and Tech, $20. It seems like there's some major lovable loser mojo happening. Seeing what the fans and now the players need to weed that out real quick. Let's not go too far too here. There's plenty of winners running around in that locker room.
I like where things are going. I have no problem with the locker room. I want to make that very clear. Let's not get too comfortable here. 7 wins was the point, and you just lost to your rival.
Well, we can yell at Cole Kmet about it the next time he comes in.
I will.
He would have some fun with that.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
T-Fly shot at Long Beach, $20. The Chicago Bears weren't going to go to war for Poles when he can't stand up and pay Jalen. Won't stand behind his coach, won't say these are my guys, and we're going forward. No commitment, so of course no one is risking injury. Okay. Pickles.
Okay, yeah.
$10. Poles has shown he can make the difficult, correct decision. Fire the coaches and always reach for better. Take the gift of the number one and swing for the fences. Move into the modern NFL. Focus on offense.
No great deed has been done in life without taking risk. Let's go with that on for you, Pickles. Love you. Brian Jenkins, $10. Braggs. You mentioned this is a result-driven business, and I agree. But what makes you so absolutely damn sure Caleb Diva Williams will bring results? Braggs.
I can't promise you that.
No
I
shit, you can't.
Yeah, I
So
thought
what
what
makes you
I thought the Bears
confident?
were going to be good this year. I thought they'd win 9 games. I thought Fields would take the next.
Answer his question. What makes you confident? What about it makes you confident?
Because the team is moving in the right direction. They're going to continue to bolster the offensive line. The defense is going to get stronger. You bring in a quarterback into a more conducive environment, and the only caveat is they got to get this coaching situation correct.
You were good until the end there. You had it. You laid out some great reasonings. Joe Calcagno, $4.99. What's up, Joe? The fan base is having a hard time moving on from Fields is because we have watched the media do weekly quarterback evaluation segments for 7 years. Not again. I don't know if that's really the reason, Joe, but okay. I think it's because you love Justin because he's a first-class dude. How about that?
Yeah. The Duke, again, $20 here. I watched Caleb highlights last night, so arguably I've only seen him at his best. My big takeaway is that dude had no help, made amazing plays scrambling and throwing, but NFL DBs are absolutely picking those balls off. That's fair. A lot of crazy plays on those highlights. Antonio.
Not if the NFL DBs were Terrell Smith yesterday, who had a shockingly bad day.
Wow. And then he got hurt.
Guy's been great. I was
home?
expecting more. Not yet, no. $4.99.
I have to prep for the next show we're doing, and I have to somehow get clips from this show we're currently doing.
These are our last four, and these haven't appeared on screen yet.
First of all, you don't prep. Second of all, all
right, 4 more. I got them. Fire everybody after what they made me go through. It was at a Wisconsin bar yesterday. I like Fields, but it might be time for a change, which sucks to say. That's from Antonio. Gaming for Veterans, $9.99. Why do we need to have everyone like each other? I get that you don't want a toxic locker room, but I think we need players who get on each other to push the competition.
I agree. A team doesn't have to like each other. I don't like Carm. We're here working every day.
Nobody likes anybody on this show, and somehow we do it every single day. It's amazing.
I like Steven.
Thanks, Hoge.
Steven is solid.
Yeah. That's because he's new here on Bears.
5 more of these shows, you'll hate me.
The Duke, $19.99. I won't apologize. Instead, I'll congratulate him on his one and only good take, which was the preseason record prediction. If Carm were a clock, he'd only be right once a day.
Duke, I know you don't mean that. You're my friend, whether you like it or not, buddy.
Saber Blazer, $4.99. I think if we hire the Michigan coach, we have to take a QB. As much as I love Justin Fields, I think would be best. Lost you a little there at the end, but I don't know if Jim Harbaugh automatically means J.J. McCarthy, because I'm not sure I would sign up for that. Ken P. paid $2 just to say something silly. Isaac, $5.
Good job,
Hoge
Ken.
starting to sound like Phil on his rant. That alone tells me Flus and everyone to the sun.
Who's Phil?
Isaac Siegel
Phil
referencing. Nope. Isaac Siegel referencing draft Dr. Phil. Phil Atoshin, my good friend, who's a very passionate Bears fan. And this Bears team has made him borderline crazy.
Great, so now I'm crazy.
Well, we're all going crazy. I completely understand it.
It's amazing.
I agree with Eric in the chat who says Adam is annoying.
Chad hates everybody. I
agree.
It's a we're all in this together, baby. This world, one big happy Bears family.
The chat's a beautiful place.
And that is every single super chat. Thank you to all 641 of you that hit the like button. The rest of you, I've written down your names. You're never getting a comment on screen. I think we did it, guys.
Okay.
2 hours and 7 minutes.
Steven, great job today filling in, producing. Carm, great job this season with every prediction you made.
Hoge, I really just appreciate you being a man and underlining my brilliance, unlike somebody on the show who just can't seem to do it.
It's all right. And Greg?
I'm not giving you any credit for anything.
Whatever. It's fine. You live in your land.
Don't go anywhere, okay? Be on the lookout. Make sure you subscribe. Seriously, if you're not subscribed, you're watching right now, hit subscribe to this channel, because it literally could be 2 hours from now. If there's a move that's made, some big news breaks, we're going to jump right back on here with you, cover it all. We are your home for this big offseason at CHGO_Bears on Twitter as well. You can follow us there, get updates. We always tweet out the links whenever we go live. Be ready for that. Hit subscribe. Hit that like button. We thank you very, very much. Follow us individually at Adam Hoge, at The Carm, at GBraggs Jr. 23.
3 hours and 20 minutes till we do another show here today.
5:30 is when?
5:30 Central.
What time do I have to be on?
5:30 Central.
How long do I have to stay on?
As long as I tell you to.
Okay. 5:30.
Stay tuned for Blackhawks in hopefully 20 minutes. Hopefully.
There you go. Steven's producing that too. He's running this place today. All right. Appreciate everybody being here. We will talk to you in a few hours. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.